Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. So, a strange match week 16 it's been, to be honest with you. Two matches got cancelled, unfortunately, due to COVID cases. Not entirely sure what were the reasons behind it, if it was internal or if it was just depending on the location. So, we're not quite sure about it. So, hopefully, everyone's safe and sound there. I'll be quite honest with you. The matches that were played in match week 16 for me were quite dull and a bit lackluster as well. I think fatigue might be playing a part in a lot of the team's performances right now. So it's probably expected in terms of the level of performance. It isn't as high intensity as it should be, to be honest with you. So it's been a strange one, but obviously we can't dismiss one great result that happened during match week 16 is Leeds United. So they're literally the talk of the town right now. Amazing football they play under Bielsa. Some fantastic goals during the game as well. So unfortunately, we'll start off with the own goal by Sayers, who scored a bizarre own goal from 20 yards. Never seen anything quite like that. So not a great start for the youngster there. But yeah, just some of the goals I was just going through the notes I was making before the show. Aloiski, who's normally quite attack-minded in terms of play. He does play wing-back, but he can play as a winger as well. Scored a thunderous left-footed strike that hit the post and went in. I think he tried his best to keep it low as well, and he did really well. Fantastic goal. And Harrison, for me, who's a bit of an unsung hero, because whenever I've watched Leeds play, he's so possessive in terms of the way he plays. Like, he's always got the ball. He's always going in for tackles. He's very reliable in terms of the way the team plays. So Harrison, for me, deserved that goal. Nice 1-2 with Bamford and a nice finish in the middle of the box. Phillips, for me, was one of the star performers of that game, where I think West Brom probably were taken back by that own goal, and it sort of set them back a little bit in terms of their morale. So he had a lot more time on the ball, and if you give a playmaker like Phillips that kind of space and time, you will get punished. And he was just spraying balls in every direction. And for me, his pass to Klitsch, who squared it to Rodrigo, and then Rodrigo got a bit fortunate in terms of the deflection into the goal, but the shot was there more or less. And for me, the best goal of the match and possibly the best goal of the week was Rafinha, who had a great run on the right-hand side, went infield and then just smashed the nice curler top corner. For me, one of the best goals of the week. Great performance from Leeds. Obviously, they lost last week against Manchester United. So I think in terms of the goal difference, it helps because it's a 5-0 scoreline. But I think for morale as well, like, it shows that, you know, the manager's philosophy might be quite attack-minded, but at the end of the day, if that's his beliefs, you can't question it at the end of the day, because he has gotten a great result against West Brom, who are teams that will be around their sort of positioning in the league. So for me, great win and fully deserved. So well done to Leeds for that win there. So my next guy to review is Wolves against Manchester United. So if I'm quite honest, I was expecting quite of an entertaining game. For me, it didn't live up to the bill. It seemed quite dull. None of the teams were really they didn't do that well in terms of the final third. So for Wolves, Neto and Podence are more vocal in terms of how they play. For me, they were quite quiet during the game. They weren't really getting into attacking positions. So it might be because of a switch up in their position. So Neto played more as a striker, which is not his natural role. But I think he could have done a bit better, if I'm honest with you. But to start off with, Moutinho had a shot at De Gea, which was a pretty much easy save. There weren't too many big chances, if I'm honest with you. Sace, who was probably one of the star performers for Wolves, hit the crossbar. Second half, Traore had a run into the box. Took a shot with his left foot. To be fair, it was never going to trouble the goalkeeper. His form has been quite hit and miss this season, which is a bit of a surprise because he had such a great season last year. I thought he would have continue that form into this season. But it hasn't worked out for him this year. I'm not quite sure as to why that is, to be honest with you. And Pogba had a late shot towards, I think, around the last 10, 20 minutes, which Patricio saved quite nicely. So the winning goal at the end was from Bruno, who assisted Rashford, who got the ball from the right-hand side, cut in and hit left-footed. I think it was a bit of a tame effort, but end of the day, he got his luck in terms of deflection, and unfortunately he went in. For me, it was a bit of a harsh result for Wolves, despite their great defensive performance, and particularly Hova, who was making his Premiership debut, who I felt like had a great game. Saïs as well was really good. Kilman on the other side had a good game. So I think, obviously, I do my team of the week. Any of those guys could have been in my team of the week because I think they performed really, really well. But end of the day, you have to give credit to Manchester United. They were persistent throughout the whole game. They never gave up. I wouldn't quite say that was a champion's performance, as I've seen that written around online today and early on yesterday as well. But I think it was a good performance. They're in amazing form right now. It's such a funny season this year because I feel like every month there's like a new team that's like the title challenger. Like, is it going to be Man City? 1 month it's Everton, then it's Spurs, and it's Leicester City, and now it's Man United's turn. Obviously, Liverpool are pretty much top right now, but it's just so weird seeing that everything's up and down right now. So we'll see how the next few weeks pan out, because I think that'll be quite critical in terms of how the league will look, and we'll get a bit more of an indication of how teams are performing, especially after the transfer window, as I'm sure a lot of teams will try to recruit. Not sure if there'll be any big deals, but it remains to be seen in that aspect. But credit to Manchester United. I think I wouldn't say they fully deserved the win. I think they performed the right way in terms of trying to get that goal, and in the end, it doesn't matter if it was a lucky goal or not, they got it in the end. So for me, unlucky for Wolves. I feel like they deserved the point in the end. But yeah, it wasn't to be, unfortunately. So the next game, yes, my team, Newcastle against Liverpool. What a disappointing result. I'll start from the beginning. So in terms of the lineup, I wasn't expecting Milner to start. I didn't think this was the type of game he should have started, because Milner and Jones for me are quite not similar, because Jones is a bit more attack-minded, but there wasn't any pace between the two. Like, Jones isn't the fastest player, and he likes to sort of get the ball to his feet, and then that's how he will dictate play. And for me, during the game as well, Milner was playing very deep, so it allowed Newcastle to push that extra midfielder into the middle, and it just kind of reduced our play in the midfield as well. For me, he was playing too deep. At times, he looked like he was playing a left back, and then I realized Robertson's playing. So why is he in that position? Wasn't really impressed with that setup, if I was honest with you. We had a few chances in the first half. Salah was 1-on-1 on goal, and Darlow made an amazing save, who was fantastic. Man of the match. Amazing performance from him. I've seen a lot of people say that he should have scored in that instance. For me, I think Salah took the wrong type of finish. He should have hit it towards the ground into the net rather than adding a bit of height and power to that shot. That's why it was a good distance for the goalkeeper to save. But he did have another shot 1-on-1, which for me he should have scored. 100% should have scored. No questions about it. Firmino had a few headers as well. I think he should have at least got one of the chances converted into a goal. Particularly the one in the corner, I think he should have done a bit better. Callum Wilson was had a fantastic performance. I think the opening 10 minutes had a shot on goal, which was nicely blocked by Alisson, and he was just persistent throughout the game, which is nice to see, because last year his form wasn't great in terms of playing for Bournemouth. I've always felt like he's a very talented striker, but probably just wasn't in the right team. And I feel like Newcastle have lacked that sort of striker as well. They're used to having target men, which sometimes suits their play, but I think these are the type of players you need in games against the bigger teams, where the defense have to keep an eye on this player because he's so pacey and he can stretch defenses as well. So for me, he's been one of their top signings this year. They made some good signings, to be fair, if you review their acquisitions. But for me, had a great game, one of their star performers throughout the game. For me, I was pleased to see Thiago back. Even when he does a 5-yard pass, he just looks sublime. So I've been wanting to watch him for a long time. Made a difference when he came on. I feel like his presence on the pitch, surprisingly, he's not the tallest of players, but he had quite a few aerial challenges and won practically all of them. So that was quite nice to see that he was getting stuck in, wasn't phased by any of those type of challenges. Playing some nice passes, in particularly to Trent. Did a crossfield pass to him, who crossed it into the box. Darlow made a save. Mane tried to get the ball. I've seen a lot of people say that Darlow should have been penalised for trying to block him, but in my opinion, I don't think it was an obvious block from him. It was just that he was in that position where Mane tried to go around him and he just couldn't get through. And then Shah, who had a fantastic game, made the last-ditch tackle there. But yeah, if I'm honest with you, for Liverpool, they didn't deserve anything from that. It was our own wrongdoings in terms of not finishing when we should have. We weren't clinical at all. It's so weird. Like the front three, for example, when they would pass the ball to each other, it would literally be simple passes, and they'll be either kicking it too forward or kicking it behind the player. Like they were just not on top of their game at all. For me, I'm not making excuses, but I do think it's because of fatigue. I feel like the way they're playing, you can just tell they're tired. They're not playing with a clear mindset. And then if you've played football, you know when you do get tired towards the end of the game, for example, if you're not fit. Like if I played football now, I'd probably pass out after 10 minutes. Your mind is probably telling you to do certain passes, but your body is not connecting. So I think fatigue has played a part. I think Jones's form has dipped as well because he's played so many games, more than probably you would have expected. So for me, our injury list has taken its toll on the squad now because the players that are available are getting found out now in terms of their fitness. So for me, I'm just hoping a lot of players do return. Surprised Oxlade-Chamberlain didn't get on the pitch, to be honest, because I feel like we needed a player from midfield that would drive the team. And for Shaqiri to come on the 90th minutes was a bit of a joke. I don't understand why that substitution was even made. He should have been on the pitch a lot earlier. So I thought Klopp got a couple of those decisions wrong. It's a shame. Obviously, we're still top. We're playing Manchester United on the 17th of January, which is in 2-3 weeks' time. So we can gain momentum there by beating them. Obviously, they have a game in hand and are 3 points behind. But, end of the day, we have to focus on ourselves. We can't look around the table like that. For us, I don't think we're performing that well. So we have to look at each other in the mirror and make sure the next game we play, we're on top of our game. I think a good thing now is that we get a 5-day break, which is probably needed for some players because I can just tell we just don't feel refreshed the way we're playing. We just feel like we're so tired. We're not doing the right thing, the simple things correctly. It's just like such a strange way we've played, especially against West Brom. For me, that took me a setback. Like I did not expect that performance. And Newcastle, I feel like we'd get the win at least, but the performance hasn't changed in my opinion whatsoever. So it was quite disappointing to see as a Liverpool fan. So we've got a comment here from Mental Health Guy. Do you think Manchester United are the second best team? Oh, it's such a strange season. I don't. I think based in terms of form, I'd probably say yes, they are because they're winning consecutive games. They're not playing their best football, and I'll be honest with you, I don't feel a lot of the teams are playing their best football. But if I had to say if they are the second team, I'd probably say yes. Man City are actually playing decent football now, and they're getting the points as well. But I think because they had such a poor start, they're trying to gain that momentum again. So I guess the table doesn't lie at this moment stage. So yeah, I'd have to say yes regarding that question there. So we can move on to the next game, which is Chelsea and Aston Villa. Chelsea obviously had a couple of defeats recently as well. It's a home fixture, so their away form has been pretty poor this year. So you would have expected a decent performance. For me, it was an average performance from a Chelsea team. But then again, you have to look at the opposition. Is an informed Aston Villa team who are doing really well this season. So 1-1 isn't a bad result for either teams. But Villa were presenting a lot of problems for Chelsea. So I'll be honest with you, I think El Ghazi, I think that's 5 goals in 5 games. Just the star man right now for Aston Villa. He's getting the goals. He's been in the right positions. Slightly lucky with the finish, I would say, because it went through the legs of the goalkeeper. But at the end of the day, he scored the goal, so it doesn't really matter how he scored it. But in terms of Chelsea, Pulisic had a shot on target, towards goal, I should say, not on target, hit the side netting. I actually thought it went in when it actually happened. And then Chilwell, for me, has been one of their star performers, had a good game. Nearly scored the win at the end with a half volley, just went wide, which was a bit unlucky there. But yeah, Giroud scored the goal as well. Nice cutback cross from Chilwell. And, you know, Giroud is that type of striker. He can score unorthodox sort of headers as well. So nice goal for him. You know, Mr. Reliable. Whenever you put him on the pitch, he always delivers. So good to see him in the team. And yeah, a lot of good performances, especially McGinn, who, for me, nearly scored the winner himself, actually. So he thumped a left-foot shot onto the crossbar where I believe Mendy wasn't even aware where the ball was. He was just looking at mid-air like, where's it gone? It's such an unbelievable strike. Unlucky not to go in. He had an amazing game. He was just everywhere on that pitch and definitely made his presence known with some hard tackles during the game. So good to see on that part. But yeah, I think it's a good win. Good draw for both teams. I think Villa would have preferred a win, but Chelsea, despite their bad performances, I think they have to take that on the positive because Aston Villa are that dangerous team right now where they're getting results against the big teams. So yeah, it's a plus point for Chelsea, I would say. Another game is Brighton versus Arsenal. So yeah, this game was pretty boring, if I'm honest with you. The first half just was non-existent, if I'm quite honest with you. Johan Bash had a decent shot on target, which was a comfortable save for Lena. And I think that's pretty much the first half highlighted there. There's literally not much going on there at all. Second half, Saka put in a lovely cross for Aubameyang, who hit straight at the goalkeeper. For me, should have done better, should have scored. His form's just been a bit weird this year. Like since he signed his contract, I don't know. He's just not been that same player. Like I feel like people make excuses for him as well that he's playing off is not his natural position where he's playing on the left, or if he plays up front, they're like, that's not really his position. I've seen tweets like that, if you believe it or not. He's not in good form right now. I think the team aren't playing to his strengths either. He's not getting the delivery. He's not getting any sort of crosses. Apart from Saka, for me, has been that star right now where he's head and shoulders above everyone in that team. You can see his quality. He stands out like he's a special talent. So they've got to make sure he stays at the club because that would be another downfall on that part. But yeah, he was very, very impressive. Martinelli had a shot as well that fizzled over the bar. Maybe could have done a bit better there. But the goal in the end, so Lacazette came on as a substitute. Great run from Saka on the right-hand side. Squared it to Lacazette, who finished it smartly in the bottom corner. Probably deserved that win, if I'm honest with you. But it wasn't the best performance. It was such a boring game to watch as a neutral for me there. Mental health guy, do you think Obama should be dropped? Ooh, I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because obviously you're an Arsenal fan, mental health guy, but I think Arteta should switch up the formation a little bit because it's not quite working in terms of how they play. When you play Aubameyang on the left, I feel like he stays out wide too much and you kind of don't get the best out of him in the game. He doesn't get involved as much. And when he's up front, unless he's not getting through balls, he's not going to trouble anyone because he doesn't drop deep. He always plays on the shoulder. So if he's playing on the shoulder, he's waiting for that service. So if he's not getting it, he's pretty much not present in that team. So for me, he needs to play as alongside another striker. So maybe it be, I don't know, because you don't have a number 10 as well. So it's quite quite a strange kind of setup. If you had a number 10, like, look, if you had Ozzo in the team, I would literally have to do a 4-4-2 diamond formation with Ozzo as a number 10 and then Aubameyang and Lacazette. But then again, you kind of lose Saka as well. So it's trying to find the right mixture. But I wouldn't drop Aubameyang because I think you need him on the pitch. So you believe he can't take players on. It's so strange because he's such a quick player. Maybe fatigue's got to him as well. Maybe he needs a rest. I think Jot would say that he wouldn't get back into him, but maybe he does need a bit of a break because he's playing a lot of games, but he's not been effective whatsoever. So maybe a run for Lacazette in the team. Let me know your thoughts on that, because I think maybe Lacazette doesn't get as much praise from Arsenal fans, but when he scores, he's the king. So yeah, let me know how you feel about that. But yeah, I think Arsenal did deserve that win. Brighton just didn't really trouble the defense, to be honest with you. Had a couple of shots in the first half and then 1 or 2 in the second, but nothing to kind of trouble Leno at all. So yeah, it was a bit of a boring game for the neutral, well, for me anyway. But yeah, it's just been one of those strange weeks where the games haven't been as exciting. Minus Leeds, obviously that game was fantastic. We winning 5-0. But yeah, so we can move on to my team of the week. So let me put that for you guys. Remove that banner so you guys can see a bit more clearly. So here is my team of the week. So I don't think there'll be a lot of surprises in terms of some of the players because I have mentioned them as I've done my analysis for the games. But Darlow for me was by far the best goalkeeper of the week. Amazing saves. Definitely kept Newcastle in the team there. And just, yeah, to be fair, he's been amazing for a number of weeks. And whenever I do my team of the weeks, he's always in the shortlist. And it's just that maybe the results for Newcastle didn't go their way, so I'd have to favor someone where the team won or they had a clean sheet and stuff like that. But for me, Darlow has been fantastic. Amazing saves in the Liverpool game. Fully deserves to be in that team. Chilwell, for me, same sort of scenario there. Has been a consistent performer for Chelsea. Made the assist for Giroud there, so for me, it has to be in the team as well. Shah, who's been kind of in and out of the team. A player that I've always quite liked, to be fair. I'm quite surprised that none of the top 6 teams ever went for him because he's very reliable and he's very intelligent. Like, he reads the game really well and doesn't rely on his speed, which a lot of defenders do. And you can kind of see as they get older that their positioning's not great. But he's always had that, to be fair. So from his days when he used to play for FC Bars. So yeah, for me, he had a fantastic game against Liverpool. Made that last-ditch tackle, or clearance, I should say, when Marner nearly scored. And yeah, did amazingly well. So definitely deserves to be in the team for me. Young Hover, so former Liverpool player who never made it a professional appearance for us. But I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit disappointed when he left the club. I was expecting this season for him to break into the team or make some appearances. He actually would have been very useful because he can play as a centre-back, but he's a right-back at trade. So I think because we've got Nico Williams, that's probably the reason why we let him go. But this was his first Premier League debut. In general, not even just for Liverpool or Wales. This was his first debut here. And for me, he did fantastically well against Rashford, who got a yellow card because Hover did a fantastic tackle on him. And I think Rashford didn't like the way that happened there. So he got a bit of revenge there and fouled him off. But obviously got the yellow card in the end. I made a crucial tackle towards the end of the game as well, where Pogba was inside the 18-yard box. And I feel like Pogba was just about to go through and maybe even cross the ball for someone to score. But yeah, he was there to make that tackle and then try to set up an attack as well, which didn't happen. But for me, as a young player who's made his debut, had a very promising start to his Wolves career there. So well done to Hover there. So my midfield is Harrison. So another great game for him. He's been one of the most consistent players for Leeds this season, in my opinion. So always bombing that left flank, but he's got great delivery as well, which is very impressive for me. So great energy. Seems like he's got a good attitude as well. And a proper team player. So it's always nice to see that. My midfield, so I've got McGuinn, who for me was just everywhere in that game, like unbelievable play. Unlucky not to score. But yeah, his presence was felt. Like Kante took a couple of tackles as well, and like he definitely knew that he was in for a game this, during the weekend. So yeah, well done to McGuinn there. I think he's been one of their star performers this season as well. Phillips, who I'm a big fan of, another stellar performance from him. Great passing distribution. Really dictates play for the Leeds team there. So for me, fully deserves to be in the lineup. Saka, for me, star of the show in terms of Arsenal right now, where he's the man right now. Has that sort of burst of speed as well that you notice, where he will trouble a lot of defenses with his pace, with his trickery, but has end product as well, which a lot of youngsters at his age probably do not have. So for me, fully deserves to be in this team. I've got El Ghazi, so 5 goals in 5 games. You can't rule that out. That's just phenomenal form right there. Bamford didn't get on the score sheet, unfortunately, but definitely played a part in terms of how they were playing. So I think got 2 assists as well during that game. So definitely deserves to be in the team. And Rafinha for me was fantastic. Scored the best goal, in my opinion, of the week. Just loved the way he was gliding through the ball. Has great agility when he runs on the ball, and great shot on target. So unstoppable in my opinion. So yeah, so that's my team of the week. Excuse me there. Okay, so when I did my last episode, I forgot to. Well, I didn't forget. So we weren't able to announce the manager of the week for our fantasy Premier League. So I'll quickly do that right now. So the manager of the week was Umair Rahman, who got 75 points. I believe that's his 4th time being manager of the week. So if you don't win the league, I'm sure we'll give you a prize for the number of times you've been manager. They make like a manager of the year kind of performance. So well done, Umair. That's a great performance on your part there. But in terms of match week 14, the winner is actually Michael Hare, who has 60 points. So well done to Michael. Bit of a tricky week, I would say, because of the 2 cancelled matches. And a lot of players were in and out of the team. So yeah, I think you did really well to get 60 points here. So well done on that. So let's talk about some transfer rumors. So obviously, it's New Year's Eve today. You're going to see a lot of transfer rumors piling up in the next few weeks. So let's begin with this one. Mesut Ozil to Juventus. So according to reports, it's a 6-month contract, and I think there's options to kind of extend it after that. It's a strange one. I think the story has only been built because Mesut Ozil and Cristiano Ronaldo had a great relationship when they were playing at Real Madrid. They speak really highly of each other. So for me, that's probably one of the reasons why this story has been created. But excuse me. For me, I just don't see it happening. This move would only happen if Dybala was to leave the club, and at this stage, I don't see anyone signing him. To be honest with you, so for me, that's a thumbs down. I don't see that happening. I would love to see it happen because I've always rated Ozil as a player. I may be a minority there, but I would like to see him join a good club that's challenging for Europe and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes there. To be honest with you. So another rumor is Tarek Lamptey to Arsenal. I don't think he'll go in January. He's far too valuable for that Brighton team. If they were to sell him, for me, they're relegated straight away. That's how much of an important role he's playing for that team. In terms of Arsenal, I know Bellerin has been linked to a move back to Barcelona. So one of the presidents who's trying to get elected there has said that if he was to get elected, he'd sign Bellerin. For me, if I'm honest with you, if they were to sell Bellerin, Tarek Lamptey would be a fantastic replacement. I would definitely say Arsenal should target Lamptey for next summer. I don't see them selling in January. So for that, I would probably have to give it a thumbs down. But I do see, I think if there is actually concrete interest, I can see that move happening in the summer more than anything else. But yeah, very, very unlikely to see that in January. I'd be very surprised if that does happen. Christian Eriksen to PSG. So, strangely enough, the Inter Milan director publicly said that, yeah, he's on the transfer list. So, it's like you're playing FIFA. Don't really hear someone come out in public and say, I've got a player that's transfer listed. So, clearly he's available. And has probably been offered to a lot of clubs. But in terms of the reports that he's been linked to Arsenal, a return back to Spurs. I don't see either of those moves happening. PSG is an interesting one because of Pochettino, who I'm not sure if actually been officially confirmed as the manager, but obviously he's most likely to join. So for me, do I see any legs in this rumor? I kind of do. I don't know why. I feel like there might be something there because I don't think he'd cost a lot of money, and it's a player that Pochettino knows. So maybe he can offer something different in that midfield where PSG tend to have midfielders that are a bit more defensive minded. So he might add some creativity to that team. I know he's also been linked with Dele Alli. Dele Alli, for me, because he's a number 10, he doesn't quite suit the system for PSG. So for me, I'm not too sure about that. So for me, Dele Alli, for me, I don't think that will happen. But this one, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. That's probably the only club I can see him joining because I don't see him returning to the Premier League because he said the reason he left Tottenham was because he wanted a new challenge in a different country, in a different league. So obviously in this aspect here, he would be playing in a different league and a different country again. Obviously it's not worked out for him in Italy, so he would have to venture into different leagues, possibly a Spanish league. And obviously PSG are probably the most predominant team in France right now. So yeah, it's interesting. I can't see that happening. So we'll see how that pans out, to be honest. Mental health guy, Buendia to Arsenal and Brandt to Arsenal. That's some interesting rumours there. Buendia to Arsenal, I think would be a good signing, actually. I do rate Buendia. Can play multiple positions as well. So he can play on the left. Predominantly plays on the right, but can play also as a number 10. So, excuse me. So I think he would definitely add that creativity that Arsenal are lacking right now. Brandt is an interesting one as well because Liverpool were linked to him a few years ago and he looks a good player. And similar to Buendia, where he can play multiple positions. So I believe when he was last season, he was playing predominantly as a number 8, which is a lot deeper than what he was playing other seasons. He was normally at number 10 or he would play on the right-hand side. For me, it would be one or the other. I can't see both players joining. If I was to pick one of the two, I'd go for Buendia just because I feel like he knows the Premier League, so he'd be a better sort of acquisition. But Brandt's a quality player. I know he hasn't been in the team that much this season, so I guess that's an opportunity there where you could probably sign him. Who knows? Imagine if he was to sign two of those players. That would be quite interesting. But yeah, I'd certainly say those two are the ones that Arsenal should be looking at because creativity has been a big missing puzzle to the Arsenal team right now. I feel like they had that player that was creative. It'd help a lot. Obviously, Willian has been signed who plays on the right, which is the same position as Buendia, but for me, has not been effective. And you've got Saka on the right-hand side as well. So predominantly, you do need a number 10. So yeah, I think one of the two would be better. I'd probably go more towards Buendia because I've seen more of him, to be honest with you. So we'll see how those rumors pan out, to be honest with you. So as we were talking about Serie A earlier on, Divock Origi has been linked with Inter Milan. So for me, that's a bit of a surprise because I thought he was literally shooing to join Wolves, but the rumors have gone really quiet. There hasn't been any sort of reports linking the two parties. So, but the article that I read regarding this rumor was that he'd go there as a backup to Lukaku. So for me, that doesn't make a sense for Origi, who is probably looking for a move actively right now. Is because he wants to play in the Euros next year for Belgium. So playing against Belgium's number 9, who plays for Inter Milan as well in Lukaku, doesn't really fit the bill there, I think. So he'd have to go to a team where he's kind of assured that he would start games or he would get a lot of game time. For me, Inter Milan's not that place. They've got Martinez there, they've got Lukaku there. So for me, that's a no. I don't see that happening. I feel like I'm being quite dismissive today, but yeah, I don't think that rumor has any legs in it. And finally, a rumor that's probably a player that will be linked to a lot of clubs because of his current contractual situation now is Diego Costa. So yeah, yesterday got announced that he's been released by Atletico Madrid, so he's a free agent now and can sign with any club. As we all know, Wolves are in need of a striker due to Jimenez's horrific injury that happened a few weeks ago. Is he the right player for Wolves? Personally, if I was Wolves, I wouldn't sign him. I feel like they've got such great young talent there. He might be the type of character that will be disruptive into that squad as well. And like, because it's such a small squad anyway, it might ruin the harmony between the players if they added a live wire character in Diego Costa. So for me, he wouldn't be the type of striker I would sign. But it also depends on Wolves if they're able to get anyone else of good quality. It could be viewed as a desperate signing if they were to get him. Even if they were to get him for a short-term contract, it wouldn't be end of the world. But if I was the manager, if I was Nuno, I wouldn't go for that. So for me, that's a thumbs down there. I don't want to see that happen there, but you never know. I can see him coming back to the Premier League. I think even Arsenal have been linked to him, but I don't know. A reunion with William might be on the cards there, but not quite sure if that's the right move either. I don't think Diego Costa is the same player he used to be when he was at Chelsea. So, but yeah, that's my opinion on that, really. So yeah, so we can quickly do our preview of match week 17. So this is the biggest game that I've viewed in the fixture list was Chelsea and Man City. So a quick prediction for me there is that I can see it's at home at Stamford Bridge. So I can see Chelsea scoring a goal, but I think Man City might have too much for them. So for me, I'd probably go for a 3-1 result there for Man City. I think Man City have too much going on. Kevin De Bruyne is getting back to form now. Raheem Sterling's been really well. Torres as well for me is an exciting player. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes there. But yeah, I don't think Chelsea will do any damage, unfortunately. So before we wrap up, I'd like to just do something fun where I like to present Football Talk Podcast Team of the Year. So it's not my team. I've done this. I've spoken with Sid, and we've kind of come to a decision regarding the selection here, which I'll present to you. It wasn't that difficult, to be fair. Normally, I think we'd have long debates about who should be in the lineup, but this one was pretty straightforward. So we can get into it right now. So this is our Football Talk Podcast Team of the Year. If you look through, there's no big surprises. For me, the difficult decisions were Connor, as in the second centre back. So for me, Robertson, Van Dijk, and Alexander-Arnold, are shooting positions. There's no one to challenge those guys, in my opinion. The second centre back was tricky. We discussed a few names like Fernandinho, Soyuncu as well, who for me was the name that came to my head straight away. But then I realized he had a great first half of last season, but after January got injured, he's not really been present this year. So for me, he doesn't really get into that team at all. Johnny Evans has had a good season as well at the same time. But I think Conor Cody probably deserves to be there because he's definitely changed the way Wolves have played. He's not naturally a centre-back. He used to play as a defensive mid when he was at Liverpool back in the day. But I think his leadership qualities are quite evident, the way he communicates with the players in the team. He leads by example. Great tackler of the ball. May not be the biggest, but he can definitely make his presence felt on the pitch. So, and he's ever improving as well. I didn't see him as a centre back, if I'm honest with you, when I used to watch him in the youth ranks at Liverpool. So yeah, he really deserves to be in that team. And obviously he's played for England now as well, and he's pretty much quite prominent in that team there. So yeah, so I'd give it to him in that aspect. Alisson for me, I know Edison got the Golden Gloves award last year, but for me, Alisson's best goalkeeper in the league by far. Not being biased there, I genuinely believe that as well. For me, he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, hands down. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. In the midfield, I don't think Kevin De Bruyne was a debate. I've seen a lot of channels do this team of the year, and some of them didn't have Fernandes, but for me, he has to be in that team. He's made such a big impact since joining Manchester United this year. You can't not have him in that team. Must be an agenda if there isn't. But so when we were having this discussion regarding midfield, Sid actually had Fabinho in that lineup. But for me, Henderson, Captain Fantastic, has to be in the team. Football's Writer of the Year award as well. That was presented to him last season. And for me, he's such an important player. He's not flashy in terms of his play, but he's so important to the way Liverpool have played when set up in midfield as well, because our midfield is very different to the way other teams have set up. We play predominantly with two number 6s, and then we'll have one person who's like a number 8, but tends to drop deep as well. So a certain sort of number 10 type of player, like a Fernandes, wouldn't get in a Liverpool team, in my opinion. Not to say he's not good enough, but for me, it just doesn't fit into that mold. Klopp likes to have a structure in that team. That's why our recruitment has been so well, because we've recruited players that fit into our system. It's not just buying good players for the sake of it. They have to fit the mentality of the squad, first of all, and also tactically and in terms of how they play, they have to fit into the style of play as well. So for me, I had to put Henderson in that team. I think it's fully deserved. The left wing position was very, very difficult for me to choose. So we had a discussion regarding Vardy, Son, and Mane. I've gone for Vardy because for me, he's an unbelievable player. Golden Boot winner last year as well, top scorer. And his form has continued this season. He's just unstoppable. And even being 34 right now, I don't feel like he's slowing down at all. So fully deserves to be in the lineup for me. Harry Kane, arguably the best striker in the Premier League for me. So I don't think that was a hard choice there. Same goes for Salah for me as well. Scored a number of goals, but had a number of assists as well. Has continued that form this season. I think the last 2-3 games hasn't been his sort of high standard of performance, but I'm not judging a player based on the last 2-3 weeks. I'm doing it throughout the whole year. So for me, fully deserves to be in that team. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, in terms of what you think of our team. I will post this on our social media, so please do comment. Let me know what you think of the team. Would there be any changes that you would make, or certain players that I've not even mentioned that I feel like deserve to be at least in the lineup or spoken about as well? So I'd love to hear from you guys. So do let me know what you think. But yeah, so this wraps us up for today. As it's the last year of 2020, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year. Let's hope the new year is a better one. It's been such a difficult year for everyone. Highs and lows, whatnot. So yeah, I will really hope next year is a better year for everyone. In terms of football, not even sure we'll get games next week because there has been discussions about having layoffs here and there. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, that wraps us up today, I would say. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for everyone's support throughout the course of 2020, whether it's you liking our post on social media or sending us comments or direct messages or even just participating in our live show with comments here. So we really appreciate the love and support, and we'll continue to provide more content as the time goes on. So yeah, Thank you for listening, guys, and we shall be back next Tuesday. So we'll be back to our normal schedule. So the match week 17, the matches we played over the weekend. So we'll make sure we're back Tuesday. I believe it'll be 8 p.m., but I will confirm later on this week. So do follow us and do check our social media just to get confirmation regarding that. And take care and stay safe, everyone. See you later.